Hello and welcome to Straight into Options.
Hey, hey, hey.
I'm your host, Swing Pony.
This is Drippy Too Hard.
All right, guys. So today, this is actually episode 8, and we've decided that we're going to cover the trading mindset hack. We're going to discuss different ways to protect and boost your mental capital because everybody knows, skill is just a part of the battle. But when it comes to trading, mindset is everything. And you want to make sure your mindset is in tip top shape so you can perform your best. But before we get there, we're going to start with our usual and dive into a little bit of market chatter. What do you got for us, Drippy?
Hey, so you sound a little sick. You're everything good?
Way to call me
Uh,
out. Yeah. So I was hoping I could
Sorry,
hide
I just
my
meant in a like a friendly way. Like your voice sounds
like a
like
compliment, right? Like, that's such a sick voice, bro. Yeah,
your sick
unfortunately.
voice is really good too. So don't worry about it.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, I actually went to Mexico City over Memorial Day weekend, and it was beautiful. It was a blast. I got to enjoy quite a bit of Don Julio tequila, some good company. And you know what's funny in Mexico, too? It's not like the States. You don't just say hi to people and handshake. I mean, you're hugging and kissing all day, every day, every single person you meet. So, I came
Yeah.
back with a gnarly sinus infection.
Oh no.
So we're on the better end of it. My voice is like it's still off. I was hoping I could get away with it, but it's better than it was.
So I hope you feel better though. Yeah. I
Well,
think
thank you.
yeah. When once you're back, uh, I guess the weather. How's the weather there? Because I'm going next month.
It was good. So it's kind of like California weather. Like it's warm during the day, but in the morning and in the evenings it's like cool and breezy. So it was actually perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good to know because in Atlanta it's hot. It's hot.
Hot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's miserable. Anyway, moving on to the
Moving on
markets.
to
How
Elon
was your week?
Musk.
Did you trade at all? During travel?
When I was away, okay, so I told myself I wasn't going to naturally, but
Mhm.
I ended up, I would have like maybe an hour, 30 minutes here and there before we had to go places. And I kind of like logged on my phone and like took a couple trades here and there. Should I have done that? Probably not,
Were
but
you
they were
getting the market jitters?
a little bit, but I'm proud of myself because I did take a loss both days, but they were tiny. Like
Okay.
maybe like $90 loss. But,
Mhm.
the bottom line is old me. I don't think I've ever told you this. I actually only used to trade from my phone. Old
Ah.
me.
Mm.
New me is like not a chance in hell. I need my full setup. I need my active trader. I need all my charts up. So, yeah, I mean, it was silly to even try with just a phone and having to like get onto TradingView and get onto TD Ameritrade. Um, you know, but you live and you learn. I got the jitters out. I lost a little baby bit of money for it, and you know, the good thing is though I didn't feel like I was missing out too much. It was great progress from how I would have felt previously.
Yeah, I think Thursday was an amazing day. Really amazing chart on Thursday on SPY. So strong and what a beautiful day.
That was that big old green candle, right?
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the day it seemed like choppy day until 11 o'clock, and suddenly we saw reversal. And oh boy, once it broke out from that channel, the box,
The box.
it
Yes.
just went for it, and every pullback was an opportunity to scalp, and that's what we did. And yeah, Wednesday was amazing.
That was
Thursday,
um
sorry, Thursday.
that
Yeah.
was one of those sort of unexpected trend days because I
Mhm.
remember the morning was very choppy. I just looked at this and I'm like, what am I
Oh
supposed
yeah,
to do with this?
yeah. Morning was bad.
And then, like you said, when it broke out, it was one of those days where you actually had many opportunities to get in. And that's kind
Mm.
of hard with trend days sometimes because you're like, I don't want to chase. Like, is it overextended? Could it keep going? And then that bad boy just kept going.
Yeah, yeah. So Friday, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. Complete shit price action. Like worst in last couple months. I think was Friday. It was just horrible price action. So slow. So should have just avoided. Yeah, right. So this topic is
Mm.
dedicated to my feelings for Friday.
And
Last
preserving your brain cells.
Yes, I should have preserved my brain cells, because after that, the impact of that is something which a lot of people do not realize, is that when you look at that kind of price action for a whole day,
Mm.
it you carry it forward into your next couple hours. You think about it,
100%.
you're like, you're frustrated, you're like,
Yeah.
damn, I wasted my time. And and maybe if you had losses, that's even worse. For lucky for me, I had all days green and one of my best weeks. But
Cheer is
like,
amazing.
even then, yeah, even then, like on Friday, I felt so guilty for trading, because it was just a nasty price action, and I should have avoided trading, because it carried forward with me until later in the night. I was thinking about the trades I took, and I was like, this could have gone against me, like more than 50% probability. So these were not the trades I should have taken.
Yeah, because I find, along the same note, when you have a choppy day, you're sort of forcing setup sometimes,
Hmm.
or getting a little riskier just because you want to make something happen and the market's not really offering it. So, I try to avoid those days too because I know that I get frustrated watching chop that's not tradable. And I'm more susceptible to kind of getting a little more creative with it. And if you're lucky, hey, sometimes it works. But sometimes, like you said, it can go against you.
Yeah, yeah, chops are the days to sell contracts. That's a strategy which I'm working on a video for it, and that's something we need to realize. Retailers should be able to do that. Not a lot of people talk about it, apart from maybe institutions, right? Selling contracts. But in reality, if you can identify a chop days, which is super easy to identify, right? On Friday
Oh, yeah.
after 11 a.m. and 12 p.m., you can see that market is super choppy. You initiate selling contracts, right? You spread. You open a debit spread or something, and use that to your advantage, and like a short side, and sell premiums and make money. So that's something, um, for another topic anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, let's discuss that because I want to learn a lot more about that too. I think
Hmm.
with options, there's so many different strategies, and it's not always just naked calls and puts or
Right.
just
Yeah.
regular calls and puts. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So, on the topic of market chatter, our boy Elon Musk
he makes the headlines for this
making
podcast.
headlines again. So, COVID era, everybody's doing work from home, everybody's getting used to work from home. So, Elon sent a pretty direct email out to his team where he said that everyone's required to work 40 hours a week in the office. And I quote verbatim, if you don't show up, we will assume you have resigned. So I think that was on Tuesday that he had sent that email out. And I know a lot of people were like, well, wait, that's not very forward thinking for someone who's so innovative. And, naturally, people get a little bit used to that remote work life. And there's some resistance when somebody's like, you come back or else. And then it was interesting because on Thursday, he actually followed up with another email to his executive team. And he said that he had a super bad feeling about the economy and that they were going to be pausing all hiring worldwide. And then following that, in another email, he said that Tesla is actually looking at laying off 10% of its salaried employees. So this was a really interesting, to me, it was interesting that he first sent out the coming into the office email, and then he followed up with the potential layoffs because it's sort of like, it kinda seemed like the first email was trying to trim the fat organically, like, "Hey, if you don't wanna come in, then you're gone. Oh, but we kinda need to get rid of some of you anyways." So I thought that was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, the order of those tweets were kind of leading towards that kind of mentality, right? That,
Mhm.
um, yeah, like, if you guys can't come, hey, you have an option to leave, because we want you guys to leave, because we will avoid paying the severance package.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting strategy there.
kind of like a douchey move from him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't understand his perspective, so I can't really say, because all he said was that he has a super bad feeling about the economy. And funny funny thing is that, you know what Biden replied to that?
No, I think I read a headline, but I don't remember. What did you say?
He's like, I wish him luck for his flying endeavor to Mars.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like, it was funny because it was
That's
like, yeah,
funny.
yeah, like he,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just odd, the the conversation between these two guys.
for sure. And look, I very much admire all of Elon's contributions. Look, I think the man is brilliant in so many ways. But there is a little bit of like a
But
troll meme leadership that he takes on. I think he loves to stir shit up. Like the man gets off on stirring shit up, and
I think he likes
sometimes
attention, so
I
that's
think he does too, and we give it to
yeah,
him. We're talking about him right now. We're
yeah,
feeding into it, but I think I don't know. The he has the world at his fingertips in some ways, and that makes me a little uneasy sometimes.
yeah. Well, there very few people are as powerful as him, right?
Of
And
course.
with not just with money, right? You know, the influence he has over people, and fintwit in general.
Yes.
So
Yes. Absolutely. And
yeah.
we like a little humor and he's good at sprinkling it in. So that definitely keeps us engaged. But it's not just Tesla, as you know, that's doing the hiring pauses
Mhm.
across the board. We've got Peloton, Netflix, Facebook. I mean,
Microsoft, the big
Microsoft.
one. Yeah.
There's so many names that are doing it. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting. Like we said, we talked about the previous episode with stagflation, recession, and what the future will look like. So we're just keeping an eye on all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting times because with respect to, for example, like, I guess people are not noticing this, or I don't see it much in the media, is the unionization with respect to the Starbucks labors, right?
Hmm.
And it's been going on for a while now, and it's something to pay attention to because the Starbucks is a big company, and there's a lot of companies which follow similar model, like the work practices are similar, right? McDonald's and Walmart and other names. So if this starts to spark, and if it could lead to something big. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and we don't want to see that, like, that's the last thing we want, like some civil unrest uh in the society. And this is starting to kind of look like that, because we have seen that in the past.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
it's funny that you said civil unrest, and the first thing I thought of was midterms coming up.
Yeah, exactly, so this is
We
all
have
related, right? Because
many
now,
opportunities for civil unrest coming up.
yeah, and we have the gun shootings
Oh,
every other day, which is
God, it's
just
devastating.
mind numbing to me that we have this issue. Like,
Trippy,
think about this.
what's interesting? You actually, right before this, you mentioned to me that you didn't sleep at all last night because you were listening to music and you just ended up
Mhm.
staying up all night. For me, I had a really interesting night. So at 3 in the morning, for some reason, I woke up and naturally I checked my phone to see what time it is. And I had a Twitter headline pop up about the Uvalde shooting and sort of the miscommunication with the police force and certain parents trying to run in and get their kids and just all of the chaos about the situation. And I actually hadn't read too much about it. I've been trying to kind of limit how much news I intake just because it can be so heavy sometimes. But I ended up at 3 a.m. What a great time sitting there and reading every single thing
Wow.
about that shooting and how it went down. And I was like crying in my bed at 3 a.m., just devastated that this happens and it happens so often here.
Yeah, it's every day. It's like, yeah, it's really, yeah, like, I just like find it so hard to believe, especially as an immigrant, because in your home country you don't hear this kind of news, like, at
Mhm.
all, right? Maybe once in a blue moon you'll hear it, but mass shooting is something which I don't personally think other countries have as much as here.
No, and it's weird to me as somebody who's been born and raised in the States my whole life that we have almost become not I don't wanna say desensitized, but the headlines aren't new to us because we see them so often, and then you have to take a moment to realize in other countries that it's not normal.
Yeah, yeah. I hope their families find some peace because
It's devastating.
it's hard times ahead with the respect to economy, and this news itself is horrible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Saying of talking about horrible news, next week we have CPI data next week coming up.
Well, you
Yeah,
know what's funny about CPI data to me? The fact that if it's, like, in line or just tiny, tiny, tiny bit better, it's, like, bullish. Yeah, send the markets.
yeah. So charts are waiting for that. We're seeing
Mhm.
SPY holding some key levels, and as long as it's holding that 41 for SPX or is holding 4100, um,
It's a strong level.
yeah, it's been acting as a support. So I don't know. Maybe the market is waiting for CPI data, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then we have triple witching as well.
That's one after. So this not next week, but next to next week.
So the
So
week after this upcoming week, and triple witching is quarterly, right?
yes,
And for
yeah.
anyone who
Quadruple
doesn't
witching is
know,
once a year, I think, because for that you need monthly, yearly contracts to expire.
so triple witching is a simultaneous expiration of stock options, stock index futures, and stock index options contracts all on the same day. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, VIX expiration as well. So VIX expires as well, VIX contracts. So yeah, it will be an interesting week. 2 weeks ahead, a lot of volatility in the market.
Mhm.
Expecting that, um, or chop could be both.
Could be both.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you said the word chop, and that always makes me think of mental capital, which is the perfect segue. So
Mhm.
let's go ahead and discuss some of the ways to protect and boost your mental capital. Because as traders, if we're going to do this, if we're going to play the long game, if we want it to be sustainable, we have to keep our mindset in check. So, number one, remember that you are your only competition. It's you versus you. One of the most detrimental things that I think you can do as a trader is compare yourself against others. So, comparing against others, I think, is healthy in some ways, right? Like, I can look up to my favorite traders and I can be like, wow, I want to learn to be like that. I aspire to be like that. And maybe that can motivate me. But on the other side of it, you have to keep in mind that social media is a highlight reel, right? So, whether that's Instagram, whether I'm looking at all these girls with banging bodies who are on vacation all the time and living their best life, and thinking about, oh, how does that make me feel, like sort of comparing my life against theirs. The same thing happens on FinTwit quite often. It's actually exactly the same. um, but it's about money, which can be even more impactful. Keep in mind that people are posting their best moments. They're not posting their worst losses. I mean, most of them aren't. So you have to keep in mind that comparing yourself against someone else's highlight reel is going to be a little bit demoralizing. It's going to weigh on your mindset a bit. And you always have to keep in mind that you don't know what their level of experience is. You don't know what capital they're working with, their risk management, their strategy. So comparing yourself against others isn't the best way to go about trading. You always have to remember that you're your only competition, and you just got to strive to be a little bit better than, the previous you, or you from the day before, or you from the week before. And I think that's a really important element in terms of your mindset.
Yeah, it's very similar to other aspects in life, right? For example, someone who works out and who wants to improve their metabolism or looks or anything like that, physique. Um, they have to go through the same process and same thought process, right? It's a journey, and it's your progress because your body is different.
Yep.
It's the same way. It's your progress in trading because it's your um, mindset. It's your thoughts which make you unique as a trader. So that's something which you cannot see on FinTwit. There's no way you can share that information to others, so I cannot share that to others. So those are for me and me myself to understand. So you need to kind of think about it from that perspective, because otherwise it's just it's not black or white, right? It's a gray area
Mhm.
where you compare yourself with others, right? Like uh number of trades and etc etc, or the wins, and so all these things are great, but then you can't really compare yourself to others, because you are a completely different trader, even if you take the same trade, right?
Yeah,
Same
you
trade.
can't replicate Drippy, you can't replicate Pony, there's no way. Like, you are you.
Yeah. So identify yourself, like if you take the same trade, for example, as me, if I alert it, for example, and uh, and you find yourself in a losing position, even though I made profit or people made profit. So you need to realize that, well, why did it go wrong? Don't compare, but try to figure out that, like where did I go wrong, and uh, was it because of something which I could avoid in the future, or something which is not going to work for me. So you avoid those kind of trades. So you need to think deeper, not just on surface level compare yourself with other traders.
That's a great point.
Hmm. Yeah. So which brings me to my next point, right? Which is key. Don't let a green day go red. So listen to this again. It's not just don't let a green trade go red. It's a green day go red. So differences between trade and a day, like over the day you can take a couple trades. It's fine. You lose one, that's okay. You make money in the another one, and once you start to have like a idea that, okay, this is the amount I like, for example, I want to make 1% of my account, and you made it, then you step back and just maybe go back to paper trade or enjoy your day. I mean, you don't have to sit in front of a computer all day, or monitor the charts, right? It's not healthy. That's what we are trying to avoid. We want to save the mental capital to to use it next day, right? You lose your mojo otherwise. It's just too much observation required on day-to-day basis. So walk away, walk your dogs. Something I like to do is do something which I completely don't like, for example, doing push-ups in between. So I take pauses and I do push-ups. Why? Because it helps me understand that it's important to value, for me, like that's my kind of creating good habits for me. Everyone is different. You can reward yourself for something if you take a break, go eat a snack, something you like. Just figure out a way to keep yourself away from the screen after a while, because what happens is that once you get in a winning streak, you lose one trade, now you want to make that back, the win
The
which you had,
worst.
right? And you lose another trade, now you're negative, so you try again, and then what? It's just a series of bad events. You want to avoid them, so cut at the source, right? Once you're
Mhm.
green, you're happy with the profit targets, move on. Just move on. One
Yeah,
green
and
trade,
I
one good trade is enough a day.
it totally is. And I like what you mentioned about, taking a break, whether it's to do push ups or for me, I like to go walk my dog. And this is actually called habit stacking when you associate one habit with another one. And then you're doing kind of two good things at the same time and you're associating them. Because I am working on getting more steps. So if I can love on my dog and I can up my daily steps and I can walk away green, that's a beautiful thing that my brain is now going to associate with this.
Mhm.
Um, and, this has actually been something that I struggle with. And I did this one day last week where I was up like $550. And towards the end of the day, I did the right thing. I stepped away, I went for a walk, I cleansed my palate, and then I came back and I got a little bit too gung ho. And I ended up giving back all of my gains. And I am telling you, there's nothing that depletes your mental capital more than being like, I'm up a decent amount of money. It was fine.
Mhm.
It took me an hour to get there. If $500 for an hour? Come on. Like, in what world isn't that good? And then to
Mhm.
go back and lose it all, like, that's where you kind of end your day. Now you're disappointed. You're in a funk. You're like, did I have to do that? And my buddy Shark,
Yeah.
he actually has a a rule that he taught me that I'm going to start incorporating. When you've reached your goal for the day and you step away, if you choose to come back for power hour or whatever it is, give yourself a give back percentage. So I will come back and trade, but I am only allowed to lose max 30% of the profits that I'm up for the day. That way, you get to sort of satisfy the itch of I want to continue to trade, but you've also capped and made an agreement with yourself that you're not going to lose more than a certain amount. So I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, it's like I don't think it's a good idea to trade at all. Like after you have couple good quality setup trades, because if you have that criteria, I mean, again, so it's her system is different than mine, right? So that's what we are talking about. You need to realize yourself. For me, it's more like, okay, I made the profit. I'm more worried about me trading bad quality setups and then let that become a habit, and next time I slip, and I want to avoid that. So for me, it's about recognizing that, hey, it's time to stop. It's time to either trade, go back to one contract. If you are really find really good setup, do that, but it's time to step away and focus on something else. For example, look at other news in the market. Just you can take a break, do other things. Just don't enter another trade, because you have kind of achieved the goal which you had. A- and don't, yeah, like don't get super greedy, because that's when things
Greed.
can go bad, really bad, right?
Greed is
It's
goofy.
yeah, even if you make like $500 a day, for example, like um that's insane amount of money, because that's $10,000 for 20 trading days in a month.
Yeah.
And that's insane, right? And that's $120,000 per year, which is uh, more than the median salary of a regular household here.
Yeah,
So,
it's silly. It's absolutely silly. And
mhm.
when that happened, it did like you just feel so dumb afterwards. You're like, I didn't have to do that. Um, which actually brings us into the next one, which this is a perfect segue, is to reduce your trading hours. So if it's a choppy day, drippy, like we discussed on Friday, was it Friday or Thursday? Friday.
It was
If it's
last day, Friday.
if it's a choppy day, if there aren't any viable setups, or even on Thursday, like the beginning of the day was super choppy, but then it got great. So, what you can do is you can set alerts, you can step away from the screens, and you can come back later in the day. I think one of the biggest things in terms of maturing as a trader is accepting that not all price action is tradable. And the more you realize that preserving your mental capital from staying away from the screens during those times will help you, the better you become, the more profitable you become. And, another way to do this is you could even designate specific trading hours. So if you find that, when I sit from the screen from market open to market close, I tend to overtrade, maybe you can try to designate a window. Like I only trade the first 2 hours and I only trade the last 2 hours. Something like that, just to reduce the screen time, because we spend so much time on our screens and our computers just through trading, and that doesn't even include everything else in life. So minimizing that will allow you to be, I think, an even better trader and even more of a sniper when the setups are there. I think you'll be more calculated in your moves.
Yeah, I just think that's a really good point. And you said everything. So I don't really have anything else to add there. That was perfect.
Amazing.
S- Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so bad to trade this choppy days, because it makes you want to take bath.
Yeah, you just feel dirty sitting there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
feel
that's
dirty and
that's how you
dumb.
feel. I was
Yeah.
trying to describe the feeling that you feel bad, like, you're like I don't know, like feel like, someone made you watch a really bad movie.
Well, I
Yeah.
watched something really bad the other oh, I watched Jackass the other day, and I felt like a jackass for sitting through that movie. Look,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but, like, the shit that they do is funny for, like, the first 5 minutes, and then I'm like, "How did they make a whole movie out of this? Like, how am I still sitting here? Why am I still sitting here?" So a choppy day to me is like sitting through Jackass, but I'm the jackass.
Yeah. So one way to avoid this is to have rules in place for you, and you could have a rule like I will only sit first 2 hours and last 2 hours of the market, and that's a really good rule. And you stick to that rule by, um, you know, if, like for example, what you can do is you have set that 4 hours I will trade, so you only 4 hours I spend on the market out of the 8 open hours. Now you can distribute it based on your trading profile. You like to trade morning or evening, you like to trade the low squeeze breakouts, and then schedule your day according to that. Sitting 8 hours in front of laptop whole day and then doing it for 5 days a week is you tend to break rules, because you tend to overtrade. When you don't see a nice setup, you start trading things you don't want to, so you are starting to break your rules. So when you constantly break your rules, this builds up on you. You start to go on a guilt trip that, oh man, like I am breaking this rule. And you start to kind of get into that mindset where you don't treat the money as money, but just a way to trade in the market. So you
Mm.
forget the original goal, that your goal is to make money, not just trade, right?
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
become numb to losing, and that's a bad state to be in, because now you're just getting into bad setups because you want to make that money. But when you lose it, you just get more and more, um, like
You
you
start to
stoop down more and
spiral.
more and more. Yeah. And then at one point you're like, okay, like, that's it. I'm not. Some people just leave there. They don't trade after that, right? And then they have a breaking point. So don't let these things happen. Like, you slip once, that's okay. Realize that you did it and try not to do it again. But doing it and ignoring it is a really disaster.
Yeah, and I would say, like Drippy said, when you make a mistake once, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up, address it, fix it, move forward. But if you're constantly breaking your rules and making the same mistakes, you're breaking the trust that you have with yourself. And as traders, we need to be able to trust ourselves. So if we don't trust ourselves, then we're breeding fear, self doubt, we're not able to build conviction. And all of this is going to wreck your mental capital and it's going to show up in how you trade. So build trust with yourself by sticking to the plan. And, one of the ways that you can actually sort of, I always say when you follow your rules, you get to see how your portfolio rewards you for it because it really does. Like your equity curve, it's a reflection of you following your rules. And if that's not enough of a reward, you can pick something to look forward to. Like this is something I've recently started doing. Um, I have a weekly goal. It's a very, modest, fair, green weekly goal. And every time I reach it, I get to celebrate with a glass of champagne during the weekend. So it's something small that while I trade, it kind of helps keep me on track. Like, oh, the more I follow my rules, the more I do what I'm supposed to do, the more likely I am to be able to take part in this ritual at the end of the week. So, find a reward and you know, have that
Yeah.
help you follow your rules, whatever that may be for you.
Yeah, because it's a balance, like any other work. So you need to balance it. It's a long term game, right? And
Mhm.
which brings us to our next point, which is play the long game. And Swing Pony had a really good way to put it, so I'll let her describe it and then I'll add my thoughts on top of it.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most important ones, I think, in terms of preserving your mindset and mental capital is you have to remember that this is a marathon and not a sprint. All good things take time, and I think, trading it can build adrenaline, it can become addicting, it can become obsessive, it can create that fight or flight feeling in you. Um, we are susceptible to emotions as we trade. And one of the things that can happen during this time is that we tend to think that each day is a make or break. Like, oh, today's the day. Like, I have to make this today. I have to keep trading today. I have to do this today. The more short term your mindset is, the less successful I think you'll be long term. Like, you have to delay instant gratification. You have to be able to, accept that the progress is going to come slowly, but, they say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Um, there's actually a quote from James Clear that I want to find. I tweeted about it the other day that I just loved. Let me find this real quick. I love James Clear, by the way. If you guys haven't read Atomic Habits, get on it. Okay. So it was from his weekly newsletter, and he said, most big, deeply satisfying accomplishments in life take at least 5 years to achieve. This can include
Mhm.
building a business, cultivating a loving relationship, writing a book, getting in the best shape of your life, raising a family, and more. 5 years is a long time. It is much slower than most of us would like. But if you accept the reality of slow progress, you have every reason to take action today. If you resist the reality of slow progress, 5 years from now, you'll simply be 5 years older and still looking for a shortcut.
Yeah,
I
that's so beautiful.
love that so
Yeah.
much because I just
Yeah.
think the get rich quick mindset is going to lead you to a get broke quick portfolio. So this is such an important one to me.
Yeah, I like to think about this in another way, which is very similar to the author put it, is, you know, average bearing age of fruit trees is 4 to 5 years. Like, for example, apple tree takes 4 to 5 years to bear the first batch of the fruits, right? So, but you constantly have to water it. You have to take care of it. It's the same. The fruits of your efforts, which you are putting day to day in trading, will reflect long term, and then you will, bear those fruits in large scale, and everything is preparation for that right now.
Yeah, I love that. And Drippy, you always say, be a friend to your future self, right?
Yeah, it's
And
one
I
of my
think
ten commandments of trading. So last but not the least one is be a friend to yourself, future
it's,
yourself.
I love that because you have to, in every action is like a vote for the type of person that you want to be. And so when you trade on the daily and you're thinking of yourself in the future term and not just this moment, then I think you are able to, make better decisions.
Yeah, and mental health is as important as physical health, because you need yourself to be your best, both physically and mentally, because you need to execute trades faster. So your brain needs to give signals to your muscles and everything, and neurons to fire faster. So it's all in tandem. So you need to have both of these work in synchrony, and they both need to be sharp. So work out, you know do everything possible for you to have a really good balanced life.
Yeah, I think, sleep, exercise, nutrition, hydration, these are all basic, basic, basic parts of our core foundation. Like, if you don't get these things right, the cookies are going to crumble eventually. Um, so it's all going to catch up to you. If you don't take care of your body and your mind at the most basic of levels, you're it's just, sleep is an important part of things. Like, you can't keep skipping sleep, you can't not eat well, you can't not exercise and have it not reflect in your trading in some way, shape, or form, because ultimately it will.
Hmm.
And, one of the last things I want to touch on in terms of all of this is, please, please, please enjoy a life outside of trading. Look, I'm guilty of it. I've had streaks where I've gotten so almost obsessed with trading that I almost felt like it became my identity and my purpose. And when something becomes so all consuming, your whole mood is dependent on that. I had a red day. Oh, today's going to be a bad day. I had a green day. Oh, I'm in a good mood all of a sudden. Or you don't have interest in doing things outside of the screens. And that's really, really unhealthy. So enjoy a life outside of trading. Whether it's certain hobbies that you have or just spending time with friends, family, your dog, you have to have a sense of purpose that is not solely dependent on trading. Just like you can't put all of your eggs in one basket on a trade, you can't do that with making trading your whole entire existence and being as well. You have to find a balance. And what that does for your mindset is just going to make you a better trader.
Yeah, it's so important because um, if you're if you're an athlete, for example, and if all you do is one thing is practice, 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 practice every day, all day, then chances are that you will get burned out in a matter of days, not just weeks.
Mhm.
And take anyone, right? Any coach in the world will tell you that um, you need to have your life outside of the thing you excel in or you're trying to excel in. Because if you keep thinking about that, it's just um, not going to work long term. And this is all about long term. This is all about um, and thinking about 10 years from now, you can do this without having to worry about anything, right? You don't have to worry about anything except maybe no internet, right? Because everything is in your fingertips then, and you can enjoy your life, um, and you can trade, yeah, and figure yourself out on along the way.
Isn't it so nice when you say 10 years or when we mentioned 5 years earlier? There's this constant pressure on ourselves to get it right. Get it
Yeah,
right
most
today. Get it right away. That's not how this works, y'all. Like, take a deep sigh of like relief. Like, guys, we're playing the long game and that feels good. That feels good. You don't have to get it right today. The market's here. The market's going to be here.
Yeah, like most new traders, the join trading, options trading to make money fast. And exactly the opposite of that happens. They lose money fast.
Yep.
And this is why the 95% or 90% traders fail, because you're trying to make money fast. It's not going to work. You gotta have to pay tuition. And you either pay the tuition in time or you pay it in money. I'll choose the time over money.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, this was a fun one. I like this topic. Anything psychology and lifestyle and all of that. It just, I don't know. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, me too. It's always good to reflect on these thoughts and feelings because they'll help you understand that you talk to yourself like just like your friend. You will say like if you had a trading buddy like me or Pony, you can share these things with us because we going through the same mind process, same thoughts maybe, and we going through the same experience with as you. But you got to realize that you can talk to yourself about it, like just have a time for yourself after day, maybe 30 minutes, reflect on the day, just think about it, let it go. After that, just don't linger it on until next week, because then you have those lingering feelings in yourself and they keep building up. It's like when you don't clean your room, right? It builds up,
Oh, the
it builds up
worst.
over time, and then one day you just have a breakdown and you clean everything up at the same time, and all you always think that, damn, I should have just cleaned one day at a time.
Yes, I love that analogy.
Yeah, so just clean your mind one day at a time rather than doing it
Clean your
in
damn
30.
room and keep it clean.
Yeah, also, yeah, this is actually a really good tip here. Clean your workspace, because every time, I've seen my workspace pile up, it affects my mood. And on that
Yes.
note, I need to clean it today because I can see this things are piling up here. Like,
Look,
so I got to do
I
that.
I truly think like your workspace, your room, your whatever, the state that it's in is a reflection of your mind. I know
Hmm.
personally when I'm going through sort of like tough times mentally or there's a lot on my mind, everything around me can be a little bit messy. Like how we do anything is how we do everything. I firmly believe that. And sometimes something as simple as just cleaning up your space, you'll see that it like mentally alleviates you. So, thank you
Hmm.
guys. I hope some of this was helpful to you. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and hit the like button and follow us, wherever you like to listen on Twitter, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And as always, we love, love, love when you guys share and when you kind of leave us some comments and tell us what you think. Tell us what resonated with you. Tell us what you want to hear more of.
Yeah, tell us if you want to talk or hear more about these kind of topics, because we try to keep it technical most times. But if you think these are important in your journey, and if you think um, there's something else you want to talk about, our hotline is always there on Twitter, straight into options. Follow us, share your experiences with us. Like, how is your journey going in trading? And let other people comment on it. It's fun to read that, because you can either provide your ideas that, okay, I went through the same phase, or other people can relate to it, so it's fun.
Yeah, no, the shared experience is everything. Because sometimes you
Hmm.
think you're alone, and we're like, oh, no, you're not. We're all going through it. All
Yeah,
right,
traders
guys.
traders anonymous.
Traders Anonymous, here we are. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on Straight into Options.
Thank you.